Hi, first graders. This is Miss G, your librarian. Guess what? I can't meet with you today in person because I'm going to go take a test. Yes, I'm taking a test. So I made you this recording, all right? So part of the time we're going to watch this recording that I made for you, and then part of the time we will get to look at our books, which is fun, right? Okay, so I wanted to talk with you about fiction and non-fiction. Those are two different types of reading materials, fiction and non-fiction. Okay, so you can see I'm in the library right now. A whole bunch of books behind me. And all the books behind me are in the fiction section. What is fiction? What does that mean? Well, it means that the events in the story are made up. They are from the author's imagination. So, here is an example of a book that's fiction. Big dog, little dog. So we know that dogs don't have hands with 5 fingers on them, right? They have paws. And they don't have like a thumb that they can grasp something with, like a tape measure, right? And they speak maybe, they communicate maybe, but not in the same way that we do with words. And for example, they eat, but they don't sit at a table and eat a meal with a knife and fork necessarily, right? So and they certainly don't drive or paint their house. So this book is fiction. How about this book? It's called A Day at the Airport. So you can see that it has a whole bunch of animals in it, and they're getting on a plane. So you might say, well, Miss G, animals are real and planes are real. So how come you're saying that this isn't real? Well, they don't have dogs handling the baggage. They don't have cats driving the plane, I hope. And worms very rarely wear bow ties and hats. See, there's a lowly worm, and he's wearing a bow tie and a hat. So this is definitely fiction. Everything in that book is from the author's imagination. What's nonfiction? Well, nonfiction are books that are true, full of facts. So here is a book about a certain type of cat. And you can also tell the way that this book is organized that it is nonfiction. Now, I have special labels on each one of these books, so you can tell the difference just by the label, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. They're actually in a different part of the library. So the fiction books are right behind me, and they are organized by the author's last name. So for example, this fiction book would go in the S's, because the man who wrote this book was named Scary. Isn't that funny? So this would be in the S's. Actually, it's in the green bin. You can see that it's in a green bin. It's a green bin book. But if I had it on the shelf, it would be under the S's for Scary, because that's his last name. The books that are in the nonfiction section are under numbers. They all have numbers on the spine. 636 is where this book would go, in the 600s. And you can tell that this is a nonfiction book because of the way that it's organized. So for example, you don't have to read a nonfiction book in order. You can read it, and it usually will have headings on the page. So this is telling you about a Selkirk cat, and it tells you about its coat, and it tells you about its whiskers, and this is all true. So I could read this part about the colorful curls that the Selkirk cat has. And then that's kind of in the middle. And then I could go back to the beginning, and maybe I could read the definition of what a Selkirk cat actually is. And it's fine. I can read this in any order I want to. It's nonfiction. That'll work out. There's no story that I'm learning about. Now, what if I look at A Big Guy Took My Ball? And what if I tried to read that out of order? Now, this book is fiction by Mo Willems, and we've drawn Pigeon with him, and we've drawn Piggy with him, and we're gonna draw Gerald with him, which is very exciting. So, let's see if we read. Let's start at the end. So big that no one will play with me. Well, I can't tell what's going on because there's a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And right now, I'm more toward the end. With a fiction book, you kind of have to start at the beginning and read from the beginning to see what happens. Piggy comes running in and says, "Gerald, I found a big ball and it was so fun. And then a big guy came and he took my ball." Now I know what's going on further in the book. There was that big whale. Maybe that's who took Piggy's ball. But I had to read it from the beginning to find out what was going on. And that's one of the ways you can tell if you have a fiction book. Also, lots of stuff is made up in this book. I mean, there are really elephants in the world, and there are really pigs in the world, but they're usually not friends. The pigs don't wear glasses. Most of it is from this Mo Willems imagination. So, fiction. Nonfiction. All right, now, your turn. Frog and Toad together. Fiction or nonfiction? What do you think? It is, look at the spine, it is under the author's last name, Loeb. And that's the E is for everybody books, which is the way that I categorize picture books. E for everybody, and it's under the last name, Loeb. And there's Frog and Toad, best friends, riding a bike together. What do you think? True? Facts? All of it is factual truth? Or is it from the author's imagination? Oh, sorry. It's fiction, right? Pyramids. Oh, by National Geographic. Has a number on the spine, not the author's last name. Let's see how it's organized. Ooh, it has headings on the page. And it looks like it is filled with facts. Pyramid, a triangle shape with 4 sides and a square base. 1, 2, 3, 4, square base. Pyramids. Nonfiction, right? Okay, let's do one more so we'll practice. I'm gonna reach down here and I'm gonna find a book about llamas. Fiction or nonfiction? What do you think? True or not true? Filled with facts about llamas or made up? Well, it's listed under a number and it has headings on the page and it has facts. And I can thumb through it and learn about llamas. This looks like it is non-fiction. How about this book? It's okay to be different. Now that's true, it is okay to be different. But look at the pictures. Look at it's under the last name. The author's last name is Parr. Oh my gosh, and it says fiction right there. So that's kind of a giveaway, isn't it? So it is okay to be different. but this is telling you a story made up out of the author's imagination. So this is fiction. Okay, so will you get your books out that you got from library, and will you put them in a pile, and will you separate out the fiction from the nonfiction? Now, you might have all books that are fiction, and that's great. You might have all books that are nonfiction, and that's great too. You may have a combination, some books that are fiction, some books that are nonfiction. That's great. You might not be sure. That's okay too. We can talk more about it. So for the rest of your time for library or for computer library, we're kind of doing a computer library combination. You're going to get a chance to look at your books, think about if they're fiction or nonfiction, and read. Read, read, read. Okay, enjoy.